Hello and welcome to my tutorial. Okay, today I'm going to teach you how to install a self-hosted WordPress website using Bluehost. Okay, let's get started. Okay, open up your browser and we are going to go to wordpress.org/download, or if you just go to wordpress.org, you should see the link to download WordPress. At the time of this recording, the newest version of WordPress is 3.7.1. Go ahead and hit download and save that file or open it. It's up to you. Just download the file to your computer, and as you can see, it download WordPress. Okay, now what we can do, if you want to easily keep track of it, make sure you save this folder in a place that you'll remember, such as your desktop or wherever else you feel comfortable. Me, I'm going to place it in my desktop just for the sake of this tutorial. So let's go ahead and place it on a desktop. Now I already have a folder there, so I'm just going to go ahead and close this box. And if you haven't done so, next I need you to download FileZilla. FileZilla is the way that you're going to communicate with your server. It's called an FTP client, stands for File Transfer Protocol. And you will send files up to your server and you can pull files down from your server. Now, if you're wondering what a server is, we're going to use Bluehost as our server. A server is just a place that stores your files for your website. And when somebody types in your website name, www.yourwebsite.com, then your server delivers that website to them based on the files that you have on the server. Okay, so now let's go to Bluehost. Now we have to create an FTP client, FTP account. I'm sorry, because we have to have an account that we can use to connect FileZilla to, that we can use to upload and download files back and forth from the server. Okay, so let's go to Bluehost. If you log in, if you're using Bluehost and you logged into your Bluehost account, you're going to see a similar page to this when you log in. Now, I'm sorry, well, the home page looks a little different, but anyway, you're going to see a cPanel. Now, in order to create a new FTP account, you have to go here to this FTP tab under this hosting menu item. So you go to hosting and then you come down here to FTP. Choose FTP. Okay, now you can go ahead and enter your FTP account, your desired name. Keep in mind though that this is also part of that FTP account that you would create, and enter your password twice. Okay, and your directory is going to be where your website is going to be located on your server. Now, this is the default directory for the server. Now, if I was going to host more than one website, then I would have subfolders in here. But if this is going to be your only website on your server, or even if not, you know, you still can add subfolders for your other sites later. But just go ahead and make sure you enter public HTML in that box. Okay, because by default, Bluehost stores your website files in that subdirectory public_HTML. Okay, so I'm not going to create an FTP account because I already have one, but like I said, you can make this login whatever you want. Just remember it. And again, you can make this password whatever you want. Just remember it. I recommend making a strong password using this password generator. And matter of fact, let me show you how to use this password generator. So if I click on password generator, all you have to do, make sure you select that and copy it to your clipboard on your computer, which is Control-C on Windows or Command-C on Macintosh. And all you have to do is check this box. I have copied this password in a safe place. You can write it down. You know, if you want to keep record of it, I recommend that you do write it down because it's not guaranteed you're gonna always have it on your clipboard. And go ahead and hit use password. Okay, so if you see, that automatically fills in those fields for me. Like I said, I already have a FTP account that I'm going to use, and if I scroll down after you're done, make sure you hit create FTP account. Now if I scroll down, you can actually see the FTP account that I've made. I named it temp because I'm going to erase it after this. So, and you know, please don't try to use it. It's not going to work. Okay, so anyway, I have temp at shutterdown.com. That's the FTP account that I made. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is let's go to FileZilla. Okay, so now we're in FileZilla and we're going to select that WordPress file that we just downloaded from the internet. Now, let's go to our desktop where we saved it to. One quick thing is that, we have this WordPress folder saved to our desktop. Here, let me expand my desktop. Okay, we have this WordPress file saved. So if we go there, you can see all of the files and folders within that directory. Okay. Okay, so on the left side, these are the files on our computer. Okay, on the right side, you see where it says not connected to any server. That's because we haven't connected our FTP account. So what we're going to do is, let's go ahead and connect it. So mine was temp at shutterdown.com and enter your password that you chose. And for the host, you're just going to put the domain name without the www or anything before the name. Just put the domain name .com, .net, or whatever your extension is. Okay, so in my case is shutterdown.com. Okay, and I've entered that FTP account name that I created in Bluehost within the back cPanel of Bluehost, and I also entered the password that I chose, and I hit quick connect. Okay, so as you can see, it did some little funky stuff over here, and it connected to my server because now on the right side I can see the files that I have on my server. Now this is actually my public_HTML subfolder, so I'm already at a place that I can just transfer my files over to that side. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So let's select WP admin. That should be the first folder for WordPress that you have. And if you scroll down, hold shift and select the last one just to make sure it selects all of the files. Now it's as simple as this. You just click and drag those files over to that side. And as you can see, it starts to copy them. This is going to take a few minutes. And meanwhile, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to Bluehost again, and we have to create a database to use. Okay, so let's go to Bluehost. All right, let's go scroll back to the top. And if I scroll back to the top, I'm going to select databases. Okay, now we're going to create a new, we have 3 steps we have to do here. We have to create a new database. We have to create a database user, then we have to connect the two with each other. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Now, keep in mind that I'm just going to use some temporary stuff. So if you try to connect to it, hey, you know, you'll be wasting your time. But anyway, all right, so for my new database name, I'm just going to use temp for right now. Feel free to use whatever you want. Keep it, you can keep it short. I mean, you know, your database name, the password is what has to be secure. So for the new database name, I'm just going to use shutter_temp. Now keep in mind that this is also part of your database name. Whatever you have at the beginning is also part of that. So this whole thing here, this whole thing is your database name. Create database. Okay, and it's created a MySQL database. All right, now I can scroll down. Now I can see under my current databases, I have one database and it's called shutter_temp. Now I have to create a database user. So just to keep things simple, I like to name my database name and my database user the same thing. Okay, so let's go ahead and use for the username shutter_temp. Same as I name my database name, but this is the database user. Okay, now, as I once said, this is all temporary information, but I'm going to go ahead and use your password generator. To generate a password, select that, copy it to my clipboard, and I'm going to use that password. Okay, feel free to put in any password you want. I do recommend using the password generator because it creates a very strong password, and you want a secure password because you don't want hackers getting into your site, and your database is a very important part of your site, and if a hacker gets access, oh man, he can do a lot of damage. All right, so let's go ahead and hit create user. All right, so that creates a new database user with the following password. I already have that copied to my clipboard, so let's go back. All right, so now I've created a new database. I've created a new database user, but I'm not done yet. Now I have to add a user to the database. As you can see down here, I have my current user shutter_temp. Add user to database. What user, what database? I named both of them shutter_temp. So let's go ahead and add that. Now, since shutter_temp as a username, of course, is my actual website, I want to give it all privileges. So just go ahead and hit all privileges. It should check all the boxes. Make changes. Okay, and it says user shutter_temp was added to the database. Shutter_temp. All right, awesome. Now, what we have to do is we have to change one file within our installation. So let's go ahead to FileZilla and see if everything is done uploading so I can show you what I mean. Okay, and everything is still working, so I'm going to go ahead and pause it for a second and I'll be right back with you. Okay, now we're done uploading all the files. So let's go to our domain and see what we get. Now, we're going to get an error message because we haven't configured our WP config file. We actually have it in our files, but it's not called WP config yet. It's called WP config sample. Now, it's a couple ways we can go about creating this file. Now, we can hit create a configuration file, which will take us through a couple steps to create the configuration file, but we're just going to do it manually. You can feel free to do it this way. The reason I want to do it manually is because I want to create a salt, but I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So let's go to our desktop where we have WordPress. All right, so let's go to our WordPress folder. And as you can see here, we don't have a WP config file. We do, however, have a WP config sample file. So if you right click on that and go to open with, now, I don't know what you're using, but you can open it with something like Notepad, WordPad. Those are standard programs installed, I think, on all Windows computers, or if you're in on a Mac, you might have text edit or something along the lines of that. Me, myself, I use Sublime Text, but just to keep everything simple with this tutorial, I'm just going to use what you might use, and let's just use Notepad. Okay, so here goes Notepad. And let me expand this to make this a little bigger so we can see what's going on here. Now, as you can see here, it asks for a few things, nothing too complicated. Okay, the first thing it's going to ask for is your database name. So let's go ahead and highlight where it says database name here, and let's enter our database name. So if you recall, I used shutter_temp, and I also use the same thing. Just going to copy that, I use the same thing for my username. Okay, and our password. Okay, I apologize for that. 1 second. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and enter that funny looking password that we saved when we were creating the database in the in the cPanel for Bluehost. Okay, so let's go ahead and enter that there. And for the host, we can leave that. Now, if you're using Bluehost, you can leave that as localhost. Now, if you're not using Bluehost, I know some of the other providers, they, create host names for you, but Bluehost just keeps it localhost and keeps it simple for us. That's why we love Bluehost. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and scroll down. You don't have to pay any attention to these. All right, now down here, you definitely want to set this stuff for security reasons. Now, in order to get the information to place here, you have to highlight this URL. It starts with HTTPS and it ends after the word salt. So let's go ahead and let's copy that. Let's go ahead, copy that into our browser. Okay, so now when we copy that, we get this funky looking stuff. Let's go ahead and just select all of that. And let's copy it. Go back to Notepad. Let's select this whole section right here. And let's go ahead and replace that with the code that we just got. So let's just go ahead and paste it. Okay. One more thing that we want to do is down here, they have a table prefix set to WP underscore. Now, hackers know this is a standard prefix for WordPress sites. So if I were you, I would change this, and you can change it, just keep it short. I'm just going to change it to something for now. We're going to call it Shutter. Okay. And what this also enables is that if you want to have multiple installations of WordPress in one database, long as they all have different table prefixes, you should be good. All right. Anyway, let's go ahead and save this. But we're not just going to hit Control S or Command S on a Mac. We're going to go to File and Save As, because we don't want to save this as wp-config-sample. Let's go ahead and erase sample and the hyphen and just call it wp-config.php and hit save. Okay, awesome. So let's go ahead and close that, and let's go back to our URL, which was shutterdown.com. Oh, I'm sorry. Forgot to do one thing. Okay, what did I forget to do? I changed the WP config file, but I forgot to upload it to the server. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here, and if you notice, I still only have my WP config sample file. I don't have a WP config file. So all right, what I have to do here is I'm just going to refresh it by just going back and then going back into my WordPress folder, just so that it refreshes my files, my listing of my files, I should say. Now you see we have our WP config file. So if I go ahead and I double click that, it's going to go ahead and transfer that over to my server. And if I scroll down on my server now, I should see, and sure enough, there it goes, wp-config.php. So let's see if that browser is still complaining to us now. We have shutterdown.com. We hit enter. Okay, perfect. Now this is your welcome screen for WordPress. Go ahead and enter your site title. Mine is going to be Shutterdown Charlotte Photographer. Enter your username. Now this is what you're going to use to log into your website every time you go on your back end. So make sure you keep track of your username and especially your password, even though it can be reset. But for my username, of course, I'm going to use temp. And if you try to use it again, I'm only creating this as temporary. So okay, for your password, now create a strong password, something you can remember, but make sure it's strong. I would use a capital, a lowercase, you know, some type of special character in there, because, you know, this is a part of your website that, you know, hackers are going to try to hack if they can find, first of all, where it is. And I'm going to show you how to change that too. I don't know if I'm going to do that in this tutorial, but I'm going to show you how to change the default WP admin URL, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. But go ahead and create a password. Okay, and let's call mine weak, but I don't care. Hopefully yours will be stronger than mine. I'm just doing this temporarily, so I really don't care. And let's go ahead and put in your email address, and you can put in, of course, you want to leave this box checked, allow search engines to index this site, because if you don't, then Google won't know your site exists, or any of the other search engines for that matter. So be sure to do that. And for this email address, for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and enter something. Doesn't matter. Okay, and go ahead and hit install WordPress. Okay, success. WordPress has been installed. Were you expecting more steps? I think we've been through enough. Okay, so as you can see, it set my username to temp, and it set my password to the password that I entered. Okay, now let's go ahead and log in. So I already hit remember password, so my stuff is already pre-populated, but go ahead and enter whatever username you chose there, and enter whatever password you chose, and hit login. Voila, you now have a dashboard. This is your backend where you're going to take care of all of your customizations for your site. If you click up here on the name of your site, it'll actually take you to your website. It's not the prettiest thing in the world right now, but I mean, it's pretty awesome. Believe it or not, WordPress has made some a lot of improvements to the way their default theme looks. Now, I'm also going to teach you how to customize your site and how to add plugins. Now, I'm going to save that for the next video. So if you just stay tuned, I'll be right back with you.